So, hello, 8th graders. Lesson 8.2, volume of cones. I wanted to go over some of these just so you had a little bit of insights into some of the tricky parts of these problems. Now, some of you might think these weren't tricky. Just found a formula, plugged in the right numbers, and used my calculator. Boom. But even using the calculator for these can be a little bit weird because of the 1/3. So you probably don't have calculators at home that can input fractions. So you may have found one that does it um, on in Google. You might have Googled it or something. You might even be able to just say ask Google like what is 1/3 times pi times the radius squared, whatever the radius is, 2 squared, and maybe it'll give you the answer. But I will just show you how I use my calculator and how you would use it, like if you were taking a test and you couldn't just ask Google or ask Siri or ask Alexa or whatever. Okay, so here we go. Let's do this first one. Whenever you see a shape, well, let's just read what it's asking us to do. It's saying to find the volume of each cone. All right, so pay close attention to what is given. The formula asks for radius, and luckily this gives us the radius. So I always write the formula. Oops, I'm doing area in 7th grade, so I started doing an A. Volume equals, and I'll look at my reference sheet. You don't have to memorize these formulas. It helps if you do, just it makes life easier and quicker, but you can just use the reference sheet. Okay, 1/3 pi r squared h, right? Because pi r squared h was the volume of a cylinder, and so we are just doing 1/3 of that because you saw in the other video that 3 of the cones would fit into a cylinder with the same base and height. All right, anyway, we're plugging in the numbers. 1/3, let's use 3.14 as our approximation for pi, and we see over here that the circular base has a radius of 2, so we're going to square that, and we have a height of 5. Now, this is a lot. I am just going to simplify what I can in my head. And I got 2 squared means 2 times 2, so that's going to be 4. And I'm just going to real quick flip over to my calculator. And to do the 1/3, if I don't have a fraction button, is I can just do 1 divided by 3. And there, get that. Okay, and then multiply it by 3.14, and I forget what I was supposed to do next, times 4 times 5, which is the same thing as times 20. So we get our answer there, 20.933333333, and let's see, what is that? 20.9. So volume equals, I should have been approximately because I used an approximation for pi. As soon as I do that, I need to change my symbol over. So that comes to 20.93 repeating, but it says up here, I believe it says round to the nearest 10th. Yes, right here, round to the nearest 10th. So we cut it there. 9 stays because the 3 here is less than 5. All right. I will do one more example from this homework. All right, we're finding the volume of a cone. So we find our volume formula for a cone, 1/3 pi r squared h. This one has a little bit of a tricky piece to it. We're going to use the approximation 3.14 for pi, and then for the radius we are given the diameter. So if there's a diameter of 15, we cut that in half. 7.5 for the radius, we got to square that, and then we have a height of 10. Heights always meet the base at a right angle. So that's going to be 10. And how are we going to type all this into the calculator? Let's go give it a shot. So 1 divided by 3 equals that. We're going to multiply that by 3.14 times. Now, if I don't have a square button, I can just do this. 7.5 times 7.5. And then the height, I believe, was 10. Enter. That's 588.74. The 4 would tell the 7 to stay the same, so 588.7. 588.7. And let's look at our answer. It looks like the closest one, maybe they used the pi button. The pi button instead of 3.14, and that's why it's a little higher than our answer. But it's pretty close. We're only 3/10 off. So I'm going to go with that. None of the other answers are even close. So we're good to go. Okay, so that's your cones. Now I did also pull these problems up that I asked you to do in the Google Classroom. So these are simply composite solids. So it's a combination of two or more solids into one shape, and we're finding the volume of these solids. And all you have to do is find the volume of the individual shapes and then add them up. We did an example, I asked you to look over an example in your textbook, and I will just review that here. All right, so in this first one, number 7, we have 2 cones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down volume 1/3 pi r squared h, and then volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. This top one is going to be calculated there. This bottom one is going to be calculated there. Showing your work is an important step. 1/3 times 3.14 times the radius squared. So that's this top one, the radius is 8, times the height, which is 16. Oops, I need to put my square with that guy. All right, 1/3 times 3.14 times 64 times 16. Get to my calculator. 1/3, I press equals after that to get that. And then times 3.14 times 64 times 16. 1071.8. So that's 1071.8 approximately. I keep forgetting to use my approximately symbol. And now for the other one, 1/3 times 3.14 times the radius of this guy is 8. Oh, it's 8 again. Oh, it's just as wide as the other one. Squared, but the height is different here. The height is 8 instead of 16. So 1/3 times 3.14, I should use my approximately symbol as soon as I use an approximation for pi. And I have 64 again, but in this case I have 8. All right, let's use my calculator. 1 divided by 3 equals, then we're going to multiply it by 3.14. And we're going to multiply it by 64, and this time 8 instead of 16. And we get 535.9. 535.9. So 535.9 approximately. And what do we do at the end there? We simply take those two volumes and add them up. Add them up. So let's put the 535.9 right there. And did I line up my numbers? Okay, 0, 1, 6, 1. 1,607.7. And volume always is measured in cubic units, so that's centimeters cubed. All right. So find the volume of the individual figures, solids, and then add them up to get the volume. Sorry, I might have said area. The volume of the composite solid. I'm going to erase all this and get to work on this other one. All right, we have in number 8 here, we have a composite solid, and in this case there's 2 different shapes. So we have the cone, which is going to be volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h, and then we have the cylinder, which is going to be volume equals pi r squared h. So let's work on the inputting everything and using our calculator to get the result. So 1/3 times, approximately symbol, 3.14 times radius squared, so the radius here is 6 squared times the height is 10. All right, calculator time. 1/3 times 3.14. What do I have there again? 6 squared and 10. So times 6 times 6 times 10, and we get 376.8. 376.8 is the approximate volume of that top guy. And now we got to get the volume of the cylinder. So that's going to be 3.14 times the radius of that is 6 squared times, what's that, 8.5? 8.5 is the height. So let's go to the calculator. 3.14 times 6 times 6 times 8.5, enter. That's 960.8. 960.8, is that right? Did I remember that right? Yes. All right, and since we got both of those volumes, we're going to add those up. So we have to add 376.8. We get, and that gives us 1,337.6, and that's going to be cubic centimeters again, so centimeters cubed. There we have it. All right, so that's how you find the volume of composite figures. Find the volume individually and then add it up.